Nice, Cassie. Very comfy. Janet is gathering a couple more things and then she'll be over here. Hopefully help me with this light situation. Hi, Carol. Aw, Mary has a sleeping puppy on her lap. So that's a good excuse to sit and watch.
So you can see right through to these people? You know exactly what
I know
they're
how to
wearing?
read.
Oh.
Hi, Brenda. Yes, Cassie, I cut my hair. A lot of hair. Hi, Linda.
Sherpa. Alright, everything else is at the machine.
Thank you. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Carol. Oh, Carol has 2 capes ready to finish. Hi, Sue.
Oh, then they don't need me.
Oh, nope. Ethel says she's looking forward to what you have to show today. So you have to show up eventually. Just, you know, gathering. Hi, Evelyn. Hi, Becky. No, come on. So everybody knows she's not at all prepared. That's why she's not here.
Don't be grabby.
I'm not. I'm just telling the truth. Oh, that's cool, Brenda. Yeah, Brenda's commenting that Janet posted a picture of her license plate. Not sure how smart that was, but it is fun. Hi, Sharon and Linda. She might be coming now. I'm not really sure.
Hi, everybody.
Anything else?
Nice hair.
Oh, Lord. All right, so Janet is here. Are you ready?
I are ready. Are you ready?
I've been ready.
It's about time. Yeah, she has a lot of nerve. She just has to sit here and talk. I have to do all the work behind the scenes and...
Okay, I just have to sit here and talk.
That's all you do?
Okay.
Wow. She works the camera. Nice hair. Are we ready?
I don't know. Are we ready? What do you want to talk about? That's what I'm here for, to talk. Here to talk.
Well, I want to start today's episode a little differently than I originally planned. I found out through your emails and your posts on Facebook and things that there were a couple alteration issues that I had not addressed yet that were concerns for several people. So I'm going to start out today with 2 of those pattern alterations just to help out those people so that they can get going along with the rest of us. So that's where I'll start. And as soon as I get the go ahead, I'll go over to the other side of the table and we'll get started. Anybody have any questions or comments before we get going today?
Oh, do you want to know if they have any questions?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to read them? They're on there. Let's see. Oh, Marianne just said she liked the blue plaid in the back. That is our Lions.
Detroit Lions.
It's our Detroit Lions, despite
the fact they lost almost every game.
We're still,
We love them.
making and wearing capes for them.
We still love them. We're not fair weather fans.
So.
But go Green Bay. I'm so happy for Green Bay.
Really?
Yes, I love Green Bay. That is a team.
I'm not talking about the city itself.
I'm talking about the fans of that club are so loyal that it's an open air stadium. And when they have a big snowfall, all these volunteers, I don't know how many it must take, but they show up and they physically hand shovel all the snow off the field.
Okay, but are you talking about the fans or the team?
Well,
or all of it, the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when your team wins, don't you feel like you won? It's like it's a group effort.
Maybe what the Lions need is for you to go
shovel the snow.
Shovel snow.
They don't have
pick up garbage or something.
They don't have an open air.
You just help them pick up garbage.
Nah, I can't afford it. It's too expensive to go to those games.
All right, let's get on with the so long. So you are going to be showing us some more alterations
just to get started,
to help you guys out. So you're going to go to the other side of the table. I'll sit here and talk because that's what I do.
Sometimes she sews.
Get over there. And I'm washed out again. All right. Aaron Rodgers is easy on the eyes. Oh, sure.
Yes.
Not with that stash he had going on this year.
Oh, I didn't see the
and
stash.
his love of turtlenecks. I don't know,
Listen.
guys. Hey.
I'm married to a man who's had a mustache for 60 years.
I'm not against mustaches, but Aaron Rodgers, I don't know. All right.
I just remember.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sherry, you can have it.
Okay.
Well, you're.
Play football. Are you ready for me?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So for those of you who I scared about the height of the collar, I want to say again that, it is a tall collar, but it also blocks the wind. But on me, it's going to come right up around the jawline. And that might be too high. It might be irritating for you. So you might want to cut it down. And again, for me, because I have like zero neck, literally in the back, like zero neck. My head goes right into my shoulders. So for me, it is usually an issue. I cut it down a little bit. So you have the pattern piece here. Can they see this just if I even leave it laying here?
No, why don't you bring it over here? I'll move the camera over.
Bring it over.
Oh, no, that's fine. You got stuff there. I'll just bring it in.
Yeah. So here's your collar pattern. It is like this, and you cut out one. But if you want to shorten it, I think the easiest way, and I know I think this is what I believe Evelyn was explaining to me in an email, but I couldn't be sure if that's what she was saying. So I want to do it here for you to make sure that we're crystal clear. So I just created a fold line. Now this one, I went 3/4 of an inch. So it's going to shorten my collar by 3/4 of an inch. And then this is the line I'm going to lay on the fold of the fabric. And now I'm going to cut my collar out on the fold. That's the easiest way to do it. You could also fold this over if you wanted, but stick that line on the fold line. So whatever distance you want to shorten it, after you folded your collar pattern piece in half, come down and make a new fold line. And that's all there is to it. So you just have to determine how much you want to cut it down. Probably an inch is the most you need to take it down.
So folding it instead of cutting it is a good idea, because if you're going to make another one.
Right. And you know, you'll see I made my notes right on here what this is. To shorten collar 3/4 of an inch, cut 1 on fold. And then I pointed to the fold line. I always put a lot of notes on here. You might think, oh, she knows what she's doing. Oh, no. I need notes to remind me. Or I could reinvent the wheel or cut out the wrong collar. So when I pull this piece out, I'll know that I shortened it last time. So that's all there is to that collar piece. Remember, it starts out like this. So you're going to want to fold it in half on that fold line. Then just take it down the amount you need and make that your line that goes on the fold and cut that collar piece on the fold. But you still only need one. Okay, so I have had a tremendous amount of comments and questions about getting the back of the garment to hang straight, because many of us as we age begin to get a rounding to the back. And some of us far greater than others. They used to call it a terrible name. I hated the name. It was called Dowager's Hump. And I don't want to refer to that, so I like the term rounded back. So that's usually what you'll see in the pattern grading, the pattern drafting, and alteration books, rounded back. So once you've determined that you have a slight rounding to your back, then things don't hang straight in the back. They actually hike up in the center back because there needs to be more fabric to go over that rounding. So here is a muslin in half scale on a dress form, and you can see that it hangs straight. What I've done, and I would encourage you to do this at least one time in muslin for your own body. Once you've created what I'm going to show you how to create is that center back seam shaping that you need, then you could translate that exact same shaping to other patterns. You don't have to do this to absolutely every pattern. So this is straight, and what I've done is I've drawn the straight of grain right down the center, and then I've done 2 horizontal lines. This helps me understand if I'm keeping it on the grain or not. So start out with that. If you're making the full cape, you don't have to worry about anything else. I didn't even cut out the little notches for the cuff. I just cut it straight out. So anyway, because all we need to know is how to fit this back. So we'll take this one off of this dress form, and we'll put it on this dress form that I have created a rounding to the back. Nothing particularly sophisticated, but just to get the point across. I mean, nobody actually has a oval shaped, it's more organic. But this is the best I could do with the half scale dress form. So I'm going to take the same piece and put it on the rounded back to demonstrate. Now you always want to make sure when you're doing this on yourself or on a dress form that everything lines up. And if you have a true dress form, you're going to have a seam down the center front. You're going to have seams here across the shoulders and down the side, as well as down the back, and princess seams as well. So you can get everything lined up so you know that it's square on the body. If it's not hanging square, then you know you've got to do something to your pattern. So I'm going to lay this one on here, get it nice, and now we can see it doesn't hang so straight. And it's not going to hang level. It's going to hang shorter in the back. Right? And those of you who have that issue, you already know that's what happens. And that's what's frustrating you. So here is what you're going to do to change the contour of this seam in the back so that it hangs straight again. All right? Is everybody with me? I can't see your faces. I don't see your heads nodding. So in a live class, I know if people are with me. Okay. So what we want to do now is identify the shoulder. So almost to the tip of the shoulder, where is that line? So I'm going to identify that shoulder line. Now, if you had a bodice pattern, you'd be doing this on a sleeveless bodice pattern, and you'd come almost to the arm side, but never all the way. So almost to the arm side, and you're going to identify that mark on both sides. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the shoulder. But I don't want to go all the way off the shoulder, just barely to the shoulder. Now I'm going to draw a horizontal line across that shoulder. And in this half scale, I come down about 1 inch. And you have to identify how far to come down according to the shape of the body that you're contouring this for. It's usually going to start up fairly high, so maybe a couple of inches. So here I think I'm going to come down about 3/4 on this half scale, and I have a straight line between those two shoulder blades. Now what we're going to do, we're going to take a little scrap of fabric because we're going to have to add to this and lay it across that area. Okay? Now what I want to do is I'm going to slit the line that I just cut between the shoulders. Well, actually, between the arm side. Now we'll set this back up on here. Get that all set up first before. This could take a second. Because it's really important to have everything lined up before you start making this change. And there is a center back line on the dress form, so you want to make sure that center back neckline is right up on there. Now, just to figure out how much we need to do this, we're just going to slide this down until it hangs straight. Look at that. Let me take a look at it so I make sure you're looking at it. Yeah. So now look at that. That's all we had to do. So this is what's missing. And this is what's going to tell us how to contour that seam. So the way that we do that, it's a good idea to baste your pattern together because you're going to take it back apart. I connected this line, the center back, all the way up to the neckline. So draw that line in. Now, let me back up. First of all, I forgot to tell you, you're going to stitch this. Where's my stitched one?
So pin it right there on the
Here.
form.
Yes, you're going to pin it while it's on the body or the form, and then you'll stitch it in place. Okay? Then you're going to connect this line. Oh, there's a pen. I prefer a Sharpie so I really see what I'm doing, but I don't have one at hand. So I'm just going to connect so I know where that cutting line is. Now I'm going to slice this back all the way down that line. So this is the result of having done this. So we know this fits right. You even want to, after you've done that, is you want to try it back on. And make sure before you go any further, because what you're going to do is you're going to transfer what you've fixed here over to your paper pattern, and then you have it forever. So to make sure that it hangs straight. Okay? So it hangs straight, it hangs level, it looks nice. That's what we wanted. So now we're going to just take the rotary cutter and slice right down that center back line.
Top to bottom?
Top to bottom, all the way. Because now we're going to create a seam in the back. So here is what I have when I do that. Like I said, baste this together so it's easy to pull back apart. Because who needs to be wasting your time stitch ripping something that's just a muslin, okay? So here's what we have. And now what we want to do is take the pattern, and this was our original back pattern, but what we know is on the original, it's straight and it goes on the fold. Now, when we lay this against here, look how much longer it is. And we know why it's longer, right? Because we need more length because it's going over that rounded part of the body. And in order to get it straight, so it automatically makes it longer. But look what else it does. It automatically creates this curve to the seam that's unique to the body that you draped it on. So this is unique to you. You can't take a friend who also has a rounded back and say, here, use my pattern, it'll work for you. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So what we have to do is go about recreating the back pattern piece. So after tracing that back pattern piece out, but leaving some fabric so that I could add the seam allowance. So I added the length, and now, as you can see, I added a seam allowance, and now my pattern curves along the length. Okay? Let me get this on the grid so they can really see how much it curves. All right, so here's my stitching line right here. And this is my cut line. And you'll see it kind of creates that little bend, and we don't want that. We just want to make sure our neckline has stayed the right shape. And then, and the length has changed. So now the only thing we have to do, we know our neckline's the same, we've got our new back seam, and we've got our new length here. But we're going to come out and make sure we have exactly the same length shoulder seam as we had before we started all of this. Because it still has to match to the front piece, the shoulder seam. So make sure that that is the case. And all should be well, with the exception of you'll have to blend this curve over here to meet the extra length. So let me see if I can demonstrate that really quickly. This would go like this. So this is our original piece. And you see what's happened. It's gotten, let's see, we'll go right there. And it would go right here. So it's gotten this much longer. So starting where it makes the most sense, by looking at the shape of this curve, we're just going to come right around and end up down here at our full length. Now, if that sounds like, oh, I can't draw a curve, I'll mess it up, whatever, then just slide this down. And you could follow that curve most of the way around, and then you'll just have a short amount of blending. And if that makes you crazy, just do a dashed line until you get that right looking curve. And that's all there is to it. And now it's going to hang straight on your back and not frustrate you. I know there's questions. No?
Not yet.
Okay.
If you have one, shout it out.
Shout it out. Now, I'm going to tell you, you need to not do this on a dress form, and you need to do it on the body, because that's the only thing that's going to be perfectly accurate and give you the correct pattern piece. So, some muslin. I like to use a scrap of some kind of fabric to put in there so I can really see what I'm doing. I think this helps me rather than putting another piece of muslin back there. But whatever works for you, it doesn't matter. But now all this gets translated back to the paper pattern. You make your notes. You want to make a note right here that says adjusted for Mary's pattern, or adjusted for Janet's pattern, or whoever it is, so that it's understood. And then always keep your original, because you may want to make it for somebody else.
Mary said, remember to add a seam allowance to the back seam.
Yeah, yep, right here. We added the seam allowance. And that's up to you. 5/8 is the max you need. Go 1/2 inch. If you're going to want that seam to lay flat, you're going to need a 1/2 inch to 5/8 to really make it lay flat.
Okay, Ethel says the new neckline isn't clear.
The new neckline really doesn't change. So Ethel, all I want you to do, and I want you to see, this is our new pattern piece.
Hold on.
This is our seam line, and this is the seam allowance that we've added. So it's 5/8, let's say, all the way up. So then when I get here, this was my original neckline. I can do it by the muslin, or I could do it with the paper pattern piece. But I want you to make sure that that neckline is still going to be the same length that it was in the original pattern. Otherwise, your collar or your hood's not going to fit. That's the only thing. Want to make sure that you did not skew that. And the first time you do pattern alterations, it is so easy to really think you're on track and to make just the slightest little error. So before you go cutting this out and make out of some expensive fabric or whatever, either make sure it fits by using a muslin, or make sure that you've confirmed that all of that is, oh, is this the back? Yes. That neckline is still the same shape and size.
Oops, sorry.
So this was our original neckline. It goes at an angle because your body is requiring that. So it's not going to sit as straight. So you can't just sit this up there straight. It's going to have to slide at that little bit of an angle, but make sure that it's still the same neckline.
All right, did that help you, Ethel? Just let me know so we make sure. Sandy says, so once you get the neck drawn out, you straighten it out at the shoulders?
Yeah, once you're sure this should still be straight. You don't have to straighten it out. You're never going to be able to straighten this one out, because it's permanently been askewed. Okay, but that's your shoulder seam, and that's your back seam. So just leave this alone, but just confirm this is the same shape it originally was by confirming it with the original pattern piece. Makes sense? Because you know you want the collar and the hook or hood to still fit. So we have to keep that same neckline.
All right, so Terry says, I don't understand. Is it still cut on the fold for the back after the adjustment?
No, we have a seam allowance now. You have got to now, if you want to cover that rounded back and get everything to hang straight, you now must have a seam all the way up the back. So again, here's our original pattern piece we would have cut on this line right here. But we've added our seam allowance because when we get up here, that line isn't straight anymore. So this is almost like taking a dart out here, but you wouldn't want a dart in the center back of your neckline. And it wouldn't quite hang as well anyway. So yes, you're going to have a seam straight up the back.
That's all I got, but I know we're on a delay, so I just wanted to give everybody a minute to see if there is.
And be sure to, rewind this. You know, all of you, that you can rewind this as many times as you want. And if 10 weeks go by and it's no longer in the news feed where you can find it, just go to the video page and they're all in chronological order. So you'll be able to rewind this. I'm sure I covered absolutely everything, but I know it's a lot of information to take in at once, so you may have missed something. So go back and look at it again. And if you still don't understand it, email me and I'll fill in the pieces. All right. Are we ready to get started on construction?
Karen, yep, Terry says she's good, but Karen says you wouldn't cut the back in half until the adjustment is added.
Okay. Karen, first you have to make a muslin. You're not even working with fashion fabric. You're making a muslin in order to change the pattern piece to have a seam up the back. So what I just showed you was how to do that. You're not working with fashion fabric until you have a muslin that hangs straight and a pattern that's been adjusted to the muslin. So what this is called is draping a fit. And when you have unusual shapes, and it's not all that unusual once you hit a certain age to have a bit of a rounding to your back, but there are lots of other shapes that you have to deal with and different body types. Sometimes the only way to get a really accurate fit is to do the draping. And that is using a body or a dress form to fit the garment to make a muslin, then translate that to paper, and then you have a pattern you can make over and over and over again.
Okay, Kathy, I'm not really sure are you asking about the half scale dress form? She said, I would really like to know what the dress form would be.
Okay, so this dress form is what's called half scale, and this is a true half scale here. And this is what dress fashion designers will use oftentimes. Everyone designs in their own way. But this is a great tool because you don't use anywhere near as much fabric. And it's exactly half the size of a size 8. So this is half of an 8. I know it seems odd. It looks a lot smaller than half, right? But if you make a garment that fits this perfectly, and you have a person that you're sewing for that's a size 8, you take all of those measurements and double them and make the pattern, and it'll fit them perfectly because it'll be a size 8. So half scale is all the measurements are exactly half of what they would be in a human body that was a size 8. And you can get half scale forms in all kinds of sizes.
Yes, and just to be clear, Janet is showing you how to do this on the half scale because it's easier to work with and easier for you to see.
Yes, we would be hard for us in our studio to do it on a full-size dress form. I actually had plans to do that and laid it out and went, this is crazy. They're never going to be able to see it as well as you can with a dress half-scale dress form. One more quick thing I want to say about dress forms. Dress forms are not mannequins, and mannequins are not dress forms. I saw someone online a few days ago in one of the sewing groups, and someone was selling 2 mannequins. And she said to the group, should I get these? There's 2. They're only X number of dollars. What a great deal. And I just put a note in and said, it's not a dress form. Now, if you want something just to hang garments on in your studio or your bedroom, that's great. But if you want something that you're going to fit a garment to, a dress form is pinnable. So as you're working, you can pin the fabric in place where you want it and then make your adjustments. It's also, like I said, it's done to scale. It has princess seams. It has a center front seam. It has a center and back seam. You know exactly where your side seams are supposed to be, exactly where your shoulder seams are supposed to be. That's true on a full-size dress form as well. But a mannequin doesn't have any of that. It's not pinnable usually, and it's made whatever shape they decided to make it. So it's really of no use whatsoever in trying to fit a garment for sewing. Okay, so that's enough about that. Let's go over to the sewing machine. and talk about some of the construction.
Are you ready?
Not quite. I want to fix this light. I was going to try this light today. See if it helps.
She's just fixing the light, so hopefully you guys can see really well when she's sewing. She has nice, really nice lighting and stuff for sewing, but
It's different.
it's a little bit different when you're videoing and we want you guys to be able to see the details. We have talked about dress forms before in a video. I don't know off the top of my head when that was, but we can always do that again too. We can do another one. All right, let me turn around. Come over here.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so as we talked about before and all along since we started discussing this so along, we created several kits. And we sent those kits out to you, but because of the nature of some of the fabrics, they have to be constructed a little bit differently. And that's a little bonus that we're sending on to you, particularly with those of you who bought the Sherpa. I have been wearing mine because we got all that rain last week, that storm that was coming through from rain to ice to snow. And I've been wearing my Sherpa out on appointments and stuff and getting a ton of compliments, not to mention it's lightweight and warm and water repellent. So those of you who got the Sherpa, good for you. So the Sherpa is the only one that we're going to hem first before we construct. And there's a specific reason for that, and it has to do with the fact that we're hemming the Sherpa to the right side instead of hemming it to the wrong side like we're going to do with all the other Polartec's. So let's talk about mitering the corner. So I'm talking about that center front corner on each side where it curves up here. Oh, here. So these corners right down here, that's what we're talking about, that we want to get those nice and square. And they are a square corner, so we can miter them the same way that we show you in my book or in the Islander Sewing Systems DVD 1. We show you how to do this mitering technique. So the first thing you do to miter a corner is we're going to stitch along the fold line. You're going to stitch all the way past the intersection. And do it in a contrasting thread. This is thread tracing again. Normally I do this by pressing on the fold lines, and then you can see the creases, but with this fabric that won't work. So we've done the thread tracing. Then the next step is to fold up this corner. Now what I want you to see is we've folded right on the point, and this thread matches, this line matches here, and this line matches here. Can you see that?
You can mostly see it.
Yeah. Trust me on it.
Sure.
Okay. Well, here's what happens. This is the line that is created when you fold it. Okay? So there's the line. Well, when I fold it up, I kind of finger pressed it. You can make a little mark on either side, but the key is that you're going to want a line that goes straight across that point. Just as these, oh, this will be a little bit easier to see how these intersect. All right, so these intersect with this, and that will be our stitching line right there. So I've marked it with thread tracing. You could try to finger press it, whatever, to create a little bit of a groove there, but that's exactly what you want to stitch on. And you can't fudge this. If you want a beautiful, square, perfect corner, take your time and be very accurate with these markings that we're telling you. Now, we're going to fold that corner And that's the stitching line that we're going to stitch on. Alrighty. And I have a sample here where we have done just that. So you see we've just stitched right across that stitching line, which we created here. I guess I was folding it the wrong way. And then trim that corner off, okay? So once you trim that corner off, and another thing I like to do when I trim that corner off is slit this fold right here, because that will allow this to lay flatter. And then just turn it right side out. And then you'll take your thread tracing out, but look, you'll have a really nice square corner. I didn't poke it out with my poker. Okay, so you want to do that to both of those front corners. All right, and do I need to go to the zigzag machine? I might be at the wrong machine. I am at the wrong machine. Let's go over to the zigzag. So here we have a simulation of that front corner already done with this curve. And now I'm going to show you how to hem the Sherpa by a zigzag on the machine. So let's go over to the zigzag machine. So Jessica, do you think that lighting is helping at all? Can't tell.
Seems the same to me, but I'm not watching it on the computer.
Well, I just know a couple of times ago it was so dark. I felt like maybe
I don't think it's hurting. So
okay. There's a couple of things in my. Now you'll notice that today I'm using contrasting thread for everything because I want you to be able to see it. The beauty of this is, and I'll show you the Sherpa finish cape when I get done, you'll never see any of the stitching. So we have this curve, and normally, and those of you who have been using Islander systems and watching me or taking classes from me for a while, you know that whenever something is on a curve, I tell you to stitch it from the other side. So the feed dog will bring that excess in that you have when you're stitching a curve. We can't do that on this one. So I want you to remember what those feed dog are doing. And if you've got an IDT, a FOF, you're golden. You can just do this. But if you don't have that, you might want to use an even feed foot. Or you might want to employ a clip or a pin or two. But you've got to keep that whole hem even. You don't want to tweak it so it keeps moving along. You want it to go up there nice and clean. So it's not as easy from this side. But what I want you to do is start out and do a sample just to check your stitching. What we found here was we did a 3 width and a 10 or a 9 length on the zigzag. And what you're going to do is you're just going to stitch. You're going to fold on that contrasting stitching that we had you put in last week. You're going to hold your fabric and you're not going to let it get tweaked. So if you feel at any time that it's starting to do that, stop and readjust. And again, like I said, if you're more comfortable with a pin or a clip or two, then go ahead. We did not have to do that here. We were able to get caught on something. We were able to do the whole hem on that Sherpa. But again, we have a little more practice. And what you want is the bottom of this zigzag, the left side of this zigzag here, to be hitting on the edge of the Sherpa, not on the face, but right on the edge of the hem. And remember, we're going to honor the curve, so we're sewing on the curve. That will also help you keep it. What in the heck? All right. It will also help you keep it from tweaking. You also, another thing you can do is lighten the pressure on your machine, because this is kind of thick and you want it to move right along. You had a question, Jess?
Can you repeat the settings for that?
Yes. Now that I got the machine coming along. I'm not getting as close to the edge as I want to. I still have that at it? Okay. It's a 3 width and a 9 or 10 length. That's better. So you can see I'm coming up to this corner and I haven't tweaked it, so I'm going to be good. And again, remember, this is purposely contrasting thread, not that we didn't know what we're doing. Anyway, I'm going to stop here. Let me see. Raise this up. Turn this around. And so you can see the stitching. This is probably closer to what we want, but we want to get that coming right on the edge there.
Can you lay it down?
Yep. I had some trouble back here. Thread got
won't
caught.
show that. You don't
Okay.
need to say anything.
So right here is really a good example. And again, none of this would show at all if we had used an off-white thread. All right. So just make sure that as you're folding this up, it's coming up and it's not sliding forward on you. Any questions?
What machine are you working on?
Just an old machine that was given to me many years ago. It's nothing I use very often.
One of her many in the room.
I can't endorse it because
There's one. There's one. There's one. There's one.
There's one.
There's one. There's some on the floor, but
There's
you
one
don't.
over here.
So you don't want to see the floor.
No, don't look at the floor.
I noticed you added another thread rack.
Yes,
Because that was necessary.
Because
There's
I
one,
have
there's
boxes
one,
of
there's
spools of thread.
There's one.
Boxes. So it was necessary.
Oh, here's some boxes.
Yeah, no, much bigger boxes I had. Now, let's talk about the hood. I think that's what I want to talk about. Remember, again, I know I kind of glossed over, but lighten the pressure on your machine and do a sample. Take a scrap. It's only going to take you a couple of minutes, and you're going to learn exactly where you want the foot to land so that the stitching lands in the right place. Everything, tension, whatever you need to know. And then when you go to do the garment, you're not frustrated.
To go around the corner, would you plant the needle down and pivot, Terry asks.
Yes. Yes. It's a little tricky when it's the zigzag, so you got to make sure where you land that zigzag before you turn. But otherwise, yes, you definitely. It's pretty intuitive at that point. All right, so on the hood making, I want to talk about the Sherpa first, and then we'll go into the regular polar text. So 10. We tried this, and I know I showed it to you last week. We tried stitching this like the directions say and stitching it down flat and open. But what we found was we got these little lumps, and you don't want those. And we didn't want them either. So what we did was we created a French seam in the Sherpa. And we did not line the Sherpa. You can line the Sherpa if you want, but still do the French seam so you have the smooth. But you really don't need to, because actually both sides are the right side of this fabric. So as long as you cover up the seam, everything looks pretty. So to create the French seam for the back of the hood, here's what we did. It's a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So you're going to stitch wrong sides together. If you haven't done a French seam, this is exactly backwards of any other time you do a seam to begin with. You're going to stitch wrong sides together at 1/4 inch. Then you're going to carefully take your nice sharp Kai scissors and you're going to trim that seam allowance down to about 1/8. Carefully, very carefully. Then you're going to fold it back on itself, now right sides together, and you're going to stitch that at 1/4. The reason we trimmed that first quarter down is so that when we come back with the second quarter, we're not going to catch any of that seam allowance in the seam and have it show on the right side. And I know we have the Sherpa cape on the dress form. Hey Brenda, yeah. Could you do me a favor and bring me the Sherpa cape, so I can show them your beautiful work on the hood. This was all the genius of Brenda, by the way. She's laughing, but she's modest, but she's good. Okay, so we're going to show you this real quick so you can decide if you like that look. But you see, it's all just Sherpa. And when it lays on your back open, this is what you see. I think it's beautiful. I think it looks great. I don't have a problem with it. You don't like that seam? That's okay for you. Then put a lining in, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So it's totally a personal choice. Oops, hello. Okay, so let's talk about a basic hood. So if we were going to make the hood out of the regular Polartec, we're going to sew it right sides together. We're going to clip the hood like the directions say. Then we're going to take a light piece of knit. And in this case, it's a bamboo knit. A rayon knit is good. I don't want a heavy knit. I want something very t-shirt like. And you could even cut it out of a t-shirt. But that's the type of knit you want, and you cut the exact same thing, and you sew up the seam exactly the same way. And then when you make your hood, you put them wrong sides together and baste it around the front of the hood. So we're just going to set that in there. And you can see we'll just baste this all the way around here to keep it in place. You can baste it across the bottom as well, keeping everything lined up. And then, as you construct your hood, it's perfectly lined. The question came up last week, and it comes up often, could you line the hood in satin? You could, and it'd be very pretty. But without this, the hood does not have a drawstring, so there's no way to keep this hood on your head if the lining is slippery, because it'll slide right back off your head. It'll look pretty, but it won't be as functional. So think, am I doing this because I want it to look really pretty? Put the satin lining in. If you want it more functional, like those of us here in the Northwest or the East, Northeast, then yeah.
Where are you today?
I didn't move, but I'm planning on going Northwest soon. We want a functional hood. Somebody asked me last week, well, which do you prefer, the hood or the collar? Either. Depends on the situation. If I'm wearing it and it's not cold or windy and it's snowing, then I'd rather just have the collar. But if the weather's bad and I can pull that hood up on my way from the car to the store or whatever, I want the hood. Okay, this would be the trim for the hood. So we've adhered that interfacing, like I told you last week, just slowly raising the heat until it's stuck, using a pressing cloth, because the polyester fur, fake fur, or the Polar Tech is going to melt if you hit it directly with the iron. Then we've stitched it in half, folded in half and stitched across the raw edge. So it's not sewn down here at all. We've just folded it in half, and here's where we've stitched it to hold it in place. So then we can apply it to the hood. So the lining will be all basted in there, and then we're going to apply the fur trim to the hood at the seam allowance prescribed in the pattern guide. Okay? So that's how you construct your hood, whether you're doing the Sherpa or the Polar Tech. Remember, with the Sherpa, I want you to hem both fronts from here all the way up to the arm slot and the whole back all the way across and up to the arm slot. That's for Sherpa only. Polar Tech, that hemming comes later. Okay, do we have time to go further, or should we take some questions now and then we'll pick up next time putting the cuff on? Okay, I'm good with that.
You want to move back over?
Sure, we can move back over there.
So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Don't be shy. If you're thinking it, somebody else is too. Okay, just give me a second while I make you dizzy. Damn it. That's coming out of the garbage can.
No, that was Emmett. I told him to throw that almost empty spool of thread away, and he thought it was more fun to pull it. And that's why.
It is more fun to pull it though.
Yes, it is more fun to pull it when you're two. Okay, so what questions did we leave you with other than continuing the construction? Is there anything up to this point of constructing the cape that is puzzling you?
So far, a lot of the comments saying very good instruction or well explained.
Okay.
Terry, yes, we do still have some kits available. So you could go to our website, islandersewing.com, and find the kits there.
Yeah, I think we have 5 still. I will tell you, a little hint, if the gray is something you're interested in, we only have 2 of those left. Do we have 2? 1? One.
I only see 1 with my little eye.
Yes, and that bolt is gone, but we still have gold, and the French Bordeaux is lovely, and the black curly is luscious. And then we have the antique gold. Something for everybody.
But there was a question Karen wanted to know, is there a way to finish the hood at the neckline to look like the shirt neckline?
There is a way to do it. We did not do it that way. And I will tell you that this pattern was created to emulate its name, Easy Cape. So we did not go into all the couture finishes where you would have that all finished and things. It's very difficult to do with Polar Tech and with the faux fur. So it would be far more complex, and it wouldn't be make it today, wear it tonight. And that's what this whole concept was. This is a fun, quick project. It's a great gift. Once you've made one, chances are you're going to make several, and it's just a great asset to your wardrobe. But it's not couture. It's quick and easy, and I don't like quick and easy that's not nice. It doesn't. You can see ours look good. Some quick and easy is just a little too quick for me, but that's why. So it could be done, but you'd have to re-engineer the pattern and the way you put it together, and probably the fabrics you used.
Okay, so Terry says that she's really short. She's 4'5".
Oh, you are.
She says but I'm an adult.
Yeah. That's okay.
Well,
I'm 5'1", so we're not that
So
far.
she wants to know if it will fit her.
Okay, Terry, just check two things on the pattern. That would be from the center back on the back all the way to, now there's going to be a notch for the cuff. So you remember, beyond the notch where the cuff goes. Oh, sorry. You're going to measure from the center back on you all the way to your wrist. Then take the paper pattern and measure that to the same place. Now there is a notch out of that back, so you've got to add that little extra. Go over there. Is it going to be too long? Is it going to hang off your, then you're going to do that pattern alteration I showed a couple of weeks ago, where you're going to narrow the pattern piece. And I've got really good instructions on how to do that, where you could take 2 inches out of each, the front and the back. So I don't know, the other thing is the length, and then you just check the center back length of the cape. Now for me, I'm 5'1", and I like the length. If I was 5'10", I'd want it longer. And probably for you, you're going to decide. I think it's best if it hits the knee, the back of the knee or above, for ease of getting in and out of the car. So check that. And again, I showed you how to shorten and lengthen it too.
Terry, on the website, we always show the back of the pattern with the measurements. So, because she says I don't have the pattern yet, so it's on the website.
Click on the pattern, and then there'll be a thumbnail below the pattern that has the back. Click on that, and that'll come up, and it'll say finished garment measurements.
So you'll be able to check it there before buying it, because we don't want you to buy something if it's not what you
well, you can definitely make this fit you.
Oh yeah, I know, but in general,
make yourself happy, and feel comfortable. But yeah, you can definitely make, and the 2 pattern adjustments that I showed a couple weeks ago, was that before the holiday? Yes, it was before the holiday. So if you go look at those, both of those, one of those or maybe both will be what you need to do, but it isn't going to be drastic because you're not that much shorter than I am. So,
and
check it
all
out.
of our videos are housed right on the Facebook page under the video tab too, so you can go back and find that.
You probably want to shorten the collar. I just showed that today, so I think you're going to be set.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that is what I have for questions right now anyway. Just a reminder, we do have one more segment of this. We should be finishing, we'll be able to finish it in one more segment, but it will not be next week because Janet will be out of town.
All
so
right.
you can look for that in 2 weeks, 2 Tuesdays from today.
Yes. Now Jessica will be here next Tuesday, but I will be in New York City actually on Tuesday, probably at the textile show. And I'm kind of excited. I always get excited. Family shopping, New York. I love it. So I'll be having a really good time, but you guys come and join Jessica. She'll have some surprises for you.
Yeah. I heard there's a giant box of thread somewhere.
There's more than one.
I heard there's many giant boxes of thread somewhere.
Yes, we need to pull some stuff out, don't we? All right.
I don't know if I let you have any say in it. I think that is what we have for this week. So you guys can continue to work on your capes. Please post them on the Facebook page.
Yep.
So everybody can see them.
When you make those pattern alterations, if you're feeling the least bit hesitant, take the alteration and the new pattern and make it into another muslin. You can use an old sheet. You can use things that don't cost you anything. There's only a couple of seams. There's only 2 seams to make sure that it's going to hang right, be the right width and the right length, period. So it won't take you much to make up that second muslin and be absolutely convinced, because a lot of you are using these really nice Polartec fabrics and nobody wants to waste it. So give yourself that comfort of just doing that quick muslin. If you're not doing pattern alterations, you're a general fit, then you don't need to do that. Absolutely. But for those of you making pattern alterations, do yourself a favor. Because sometimes moi makes a mistake. Mm-hmm.
We've seen it here.
And so I think I got it right. Oh, yep, that's good. And then, oops, not so much. So I'm speaking from experience. I've learned even as much as I've sewn, I still prefer to make those little sample or muslin to confirm that I'm on the right track.
And make those notes on your pattern.
Yep.
So you remember, because we all know we say, I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember. And then you don't remember.
Not so much.
Oh, don't worry about it, Donna. Don't worry about it.
What?
So everyone's wishing you to have fun in New York City.
Okay.
And thank you for the comments on my unexpected hair chop. I didn't get to reply to everybody, so I feel bad when I don't get to do that. So thank you. And I will be here on Tuesday. And then we'll be back the following Tuesday to finish off the cape. So you have time to work on it. No rush.
Take your time. If you haven't gotten your fabric or your kit, get that. Get things lined up. And we'll be back here before you know it.
All right. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you soon.
Thanks for coming. We really enjoy having you. Bye-bye.